everyone. Welcome to Elevate, your local resource for connecting with wellness experts and businesses along the Grand Strand. I'm Rachel, health and life coach, and this is my friend and co-host, Nicole Huckabee. Hi, Nickie.
Hi, Rachel. As a former news anchor on the Grand Strand, I'm beyond excited to be on this journey with you. So if you're curious about our local resources for holistic wellness living, Elevate Podcast is your go-to resource.
On this episode of Elevate.
Yeah, we're women. Men are hormonal too. We all have hormones and we need them, and they are a very essential part of our life and our well-being.
In this episode of Elevate, we're talking energy, confidence, and whole body wellness with Jennah Ramsey, a board-certified nurse practitioner and the founder of It Is Well Health and Wellness, a fully virtual clinic serving clients across South Carolina and Virginia. Jennah specializes in hormone optimization, weight loss, and longevity. Offering far more than treatment plans, she creates true partnerships in health. Her holistic, evidence-based approach is designed for busy professionals, moms, and high achievers who are often overlooked in traditional healthcare. Whether it's guiding clients through perimenopause, helping them boost metabolism, or tackling burnout and fatigue, Jennah's mission is simple: to help people feel like themselves again. Because when it is well, all is well.
So Jennah, thank you very, very much for being here. It was a delight to meet you the first time, and you have an amazing amount of knowledge and wealth to bring to the community, and I am excited for them to hear our conversation today. So thank you so much for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me. I've been super excited about this.
Yes, us too. Thanks so much.
Jennah, you are a board-certified nurse practitioner. You have over 12 years of experience, and you noticed a gap in women's health. And that kind of launched you into having your own practice as well. Is that right?
That is correct. So I launched It As Well back in October of 2023. And that was after years of, working in the traditional healthcare system. I've worked in women's health clinics doing prenatal, postpartum care. I was a labor and delivery registered nurse my entire nursing career before becoming a nurse practitioner. So I've seen women, in all stages of life. So it's been really, really awesome to kind of find where the gaps were and be able to kind of hone in my specialty and my efforts towards that.
And you've really taken your focus to be more perimenopause, the weight loss, and the longevity. Speak to that for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I can back up to when I was working in a women's health clinic. And when I was right out of school as a new grad nurse practitioner, the OBGYN that trained me, actually, I kept coming to her with issues of women between their 30s and 50s saying that they feel like something's off. Can I check their hormones? And at the time, this was years ago, she said, yep, they're just getting older. That's just what the solution was. And so I didn't like that answer, and I still don't like that answer to today. And thankfully, there has been a lot of research and there's a lot of new information out there and guidelines out there. So now we can actually address these things, but there definitely is still a battle between traditional OBGYN care and, the wellness aspect of perimenopause. So it's been really, really fun for me to be able to quite literally see women just like myself, feel so much better with hormone therapy. So it's been wonderful.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I'm right there in the middle of that age range, and it's different for everybody, but when things start to change, it's like your body it feels like a foreigner and you don't know what's going on. Do you hear one is different when they say something's not right, something doesn't feel right? What does that mean?
So that can mean a number of different things depending on the person. There's a lot of factors that go into the way we feel. We all know that. Stress levels, sleep, diet, family history, relationships. There's so many different things that go into that. And so a lot of the times I feel like most women, they say, I'm having brain fog. I can't find my words like I used to, or I'm working out and I can't lose weight like I used to. And I don't understand what's wrong. And it could start as something small like that. And then eventually they come to the realization that, maybe it is something deeper.
Right.
It resonated with me. Brain fog and and the weight, it just shifts differently. That you used to do doesn't work the same way. It can be frustrating.
Absolutely.
Very frustrating, which is how hormone therapy helps so many people. And that's what you do in your practice.
Yes, that's correct. And so the cool thing about what I do is that I am a completely virtual practice at this point in time. Who knows what the future holds, but right now I like that I can offer it virtually so that I can fit into your life versus someone having to take time out of their day to go sit for hours in a clinic and not really know what to expect. I'm the only provider in my practice, and I like it that way because I get to know every person personally, ins and outs. I'm big on relationships. So not only do I care what's going on with your health, but I also want to know, what is going on in your life and how could that be affecting the way that you're feeling?
Talk about how that's wonderful, because I think that is how you have a whole body approach, a whole self approach to feeling better through all of these stages in a woman's life. I'm older than you guys, so I've been through some of the things that you're addressing, but it all resonates because the hormone therapy is so very helpful. Explain exactly what that is so people have an understanding of what you're talking about.
Absolutely. So hormone therapy, there's synthetic hormones, and that used to be more of the old school way that was used years ago when women were given estrogen pills when they became menopausal and were having, severe hot flashes. But today, there are a lot more options out there. So hormone therapy can come in a variety of different forms. There are capsules you can take. There are pellets, which are actually like a bedside implant per se that's put into the back of the hip. There are injectable forms, there's creams. So there's a lot of great ways to deliver hormones, and not one way is perfect for every single person. So, it really just depends on a conversation. How compliant is someone going to be? Are they going to remember to take a certain medication every single day? And if not, that might be somebody that's better for a pellet that once it's inserted, it's there and you don't necessarily have to think about it. Or, there's other people that they have some hesitations with that. And so they might want more of an injectable form where they can control it and we have a bit more ability to adjust how their body responds. Me personally, I really like injectable and capsules for the delivery of hormones. That's not to say that I don't use creams in some patients that are just very, very hesitant or squeamish about giving themselves an injection.
So you're talking estrogen. Some people like testosterone, depending on labs, progesterone. There's a
Absolutely.
combination depending on your lab work, correct?
Correct. And then the other things that also play into our hormones, is thyroid function, is your thyroid. A lot of times the primary care provider may check this. They may say this is normal, but is it optimized? What the lab considers to be a normal range may not be where someone's feeling their best. So
Yeah.
you have to look at that. You have to look at cortisol, which is our stress hormone, to say, how is that affecting your overall hormone balance? Because all of these things work together.
Can you share a little bit about the labs? Because there's a traditional way of looking at labs, and then you just mentioned there's an optimal way or optimal range. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So, for example, if someone goes to the lab, they get their blood work drawn. The lab is going to have reference ranges that they consider to be normal. And that is kind of a safety net, right? So, if something is lower or higher, then it's going to be flagged as abnormal according to the lab. But what I like to explain to people is I'm letting your symptoms guide your labs. So I may say to you, we need to get this level higher. It's going to end up being out of the reference range that the lab considers normal, but that's going to be where you feel your best. So that's where I consider it to be optimized.
Yeah.
So I have certain ranges that I like to see certain lab levels be within when it comes to the thyroid, when it comes to our hormones, certain vitamins deficiencies. I have levels where we know that there's certain areas where people feel their best that's going to differ from what the lab considers to be the normal reference range.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you also offer supplement suggestions as well, which is very different than our traditional OB-GYN or any treatment that we would make. I've been there. Where it is what it is. Hold on tight for the roller coaster, right?
Absolutely.
That's kind of what you're sharing. And then you have your friends and family that your weight gain or the the fog, the brain fog, as you were mentioning. Supplements are something that seem to be in the gray area, where in traditional medicine, they don't necessarily make those suggestions. So I just appreciate so much that not only are you looking at the traditional, like the labs, such a beautiful marriage that you have between traditional and holistic here. It's just wonderful. You look at the traditional labs, but you see it from a bigger advantage point, looking at optimal levels. And then you also suggest the supplements, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I like to tell pretty much all of my patients that it's amazing what our bodies are capable of if we just support it in the way that needs to be supported. And we're all different, we're all unique, but supplements really are underrated and not all supplements are created equal. So that's where looking at your labs and saying, okay, this person is deficient here. We need to address this, and not just with any supplement that you can, roam the aisles of Target and Walmart and pick up, but we're going to use high quality medical grade supplements, and I'm going to give you the dose that you need to be taking to be sure that it's effective. And then I'm going to recheck those lab levels and make sure that is it working in the way that we need it to? And if not, why? What do we need to do to change it?
That's so good. Give us an example of how a supplement is used to help us with something that may be going on, whether it's hot flashes, whether it's weight gain, or whether it's digestion. Walk us through a couple examples there.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about like gut health, for example. So a lot of women, as their hormonal shifts begin to happen, they start to have more bloating, especially around meal times. And they might say to me, I have never been this way, but I feel like I'm like in my early stages of pregnancy sometimes after meals. And I don't know, nothing's different. I don't know why that's happening. And that is where I will, occasionally I'll do a gut health test. I like a GI map where you actually give a stool sample. We look at what's going on within the gut, and I can base your supplements based on what's going on internally in your microbiome and your gut health. And one thing that I use a lot when it comes to bloating for women is digestive enzymes. So as our hormone shifts, we may not have the same gut barrier and microbiome that we once had years ago. So some digestive enzymes, supporting those with meal times around meals can be just what that person needs to correct their digestion, to correct their bloating. And it's something that I've had people that they've been to gastroenterologists, they've had all these crazy tests done, colonoscopies, endoscopies, and they tell them that they don't know what's going on, they can't help. And it's really just the body needs more support in a supplement form that we can give to it very easily.
That's a great example.
Mhm.
That's a great example. And it's very true. Your microbiome and all of your gut can really get messed up in many ways throughout our life, like taking too many antibiotics and things like that. I mean, it totally disrupts the digestion and all of that. So it makes perfect sense that digestive enzymes would help get you back on track. It's interesting. Sometimes I think how we make things so difficult when something so simple could be something so helpful. Thank goodness there are people like you that are looking outside the traditional lens,
Absolutely. And, I'll be honest, my practice and what I do day in and day in out now, I wasn't trained on this in school. So it's providers, we only have what we know in our toolbox. And so really branching outside of that and learning and figuring out what works for people, it's a process. It really is.
Thank you for sharing that. I think there's a little bit of frustration for both the providers and for the patients because of that gap
Mhm.
where you don't have that education behind the patient's symptoms and complaints. And you've recognized that. And that's it as well does as it bridges that gap
Yes,
with a
absolutely.
comprehensive approach.
Right. Yeah. It's, I can share in that frustration with patients at times. I mean, I've been there myself, and, I don't think that anyone is necessarily ever doing anything wrong or harmful, or they're just doing what they know. And in traditional healthcare, especially if it's dictated by the insurance-based model, you might not have these other options. That's where I'm a cash-based practice, and I choose to stay that way because it really allows me to have a more broad approach with what I can offer.
Mm-hmm.
Can you speak to that? I've actually had a few individuals from the community listening to Elevate. They don't understand why holistic and functional medicine doctors choose not to use insurance. Can you provide some light onto that and why that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to insurance, a lot of the times they are going to dictate what someone needs. And the reason I don't participate with insurance is because I don't think an insurance company should be able to tell me when I'm looking at someone's labs, when I'm looking at someone's symptoms, and I know that this would be a great option for them. I don't want the insurance company to be able to tell us no and to be able to decide that. So the only way around it and to be able to get care without those restrictions is through the cash-based model, at least at this point in time.
And that's not uncommon because I've actually had a practitioner who offered similar services in a different area, same thing. And you think it may feel a little bit more costly, but oftentimes they'll work with you. But that being said, it is exactly what you just said, that there's no limit to what you can do for your patient. It is, you have to pay for the labs, but you don't want the insurance company to say you can't have it. So you don't win either way if you're relying on what the insurance company says.
Exactly. And you definitely have to have a lot higher volume as well to even make a sustainable living. Whereas with the cash-based model, yes, you're paying out of pocket for it, but you're going to get a much longer appointment time. You're going to get a much more in-depth plan of care that's customized. And I like being able to provide that to people.
Yeah. Big difference there. Big difference for sure.
How long do you spend with your patients?
Yeah, so the first time that I meet with patients is a full 90 minutes, sometimes longer. It might be closer to 2 hours. And leading up to that, I've spent about an hour reviewing symptoms, reviewing labs, and just kind of putting together the pieces before I ever even have, a sit down conversation like this with someone. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I invest a lot of my time into them because I want to provide them with some answers and a plan that they feel fits their needs and aligns with, what they're ready for at that moment in time.
Is that part of the difference that you want the community to know? What makes you different? What makes your business, services, your products different? As we're talking today, if you wanted to send your message to them, what it would be that we're different, we're specialized, we're just not your average doctor's office, so to speak.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I think that time is something that many people don't get when they go to see a healthcare provider. And so that is definitely something that makes me stand out and makes It Is Well Health and Wellness stand out. And, you always have access to me. I tell everyone, if there's any questions or concerns at any point in time, I want you to pick up the phone and I want you to call so that I can make sure that I'm getting you, the answers and the support that you need in that moment so that you're not left with any open-ended questions.
And I would assume it's the results as well that makes you different. Let's talk about results. Talk about your patient testimonials. Share some of those with us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a patient that I spoke with recently, and she's coming to the end of a 6-month program with me. So we really spent the last 6 months kind of deep diving into hormones for her, weight loss. But when she came to me, she was incredibly unhappy with herself. She is a busy mom, a working mom, and had talked about how she just felt like she was going crazy. She's like, I'm irritable. I look at my husband and I don't even want to be around him. And she's like, I don't want to be that way. But it was to the point that they had talked about getting divorced. She had, their life, she felt like it was going downhill. And ultimately, when we took a deep dive into everything that was going on in her life, we looked at her labs. She was classic perimenopause, needed some hormone therapy and hormone support. And she is back to feeling, she said the other day, I feel better than I did in my 20s. That to me, her relationship is now, her husband, they're happy, they're thriving again. And to me, that's the biggest win. I care about and how you're feeling and what all of that looks like, but the biggest win in my book is, are you able to have a quality life day in and day out?
That's powerful. The most frustrating things too, I think for women is that thing is you're just hormonal. You're just
Yes.
hormonal. It's frustrating for us because it does feel like we're living outside of our bodies and our head. Like our brains are just going back. There is quite a gap. And I just appreciate what you're providing for our community and clarity and understanding. Is there anything that you'd like to share? This kind of goes a little bit down the rabbit hole a little bit, but to the spouses out there, if they have that thought of you're just hormonal or get yourself together or I can't deal with it right now, like, is there anything that you want to share from that respect? Go see Jennah.
Go talk to Jennah.
Yeah, just
Absolutely. Actually, a lot of the women I work with, I have been sent to me from maybe their husbands who I've met out at a networking event or a social engagement. And they're like, hey, my wife just claims that she feels terrible all the time. Would you be able to help her? And I always say, absolutely. I would love to meet her. I would love to talk with her and see what's going on. But when someone is hormonal, yeah, we're women. Men are hormonal too. We all have hormones and we need them. And they are a very essential part of our life and our well-being. So it could just be that we may have, some imbalances that need to be addressed. And it can really be that simple.
That's good. So I know your focus is perimenopause, but for women of all ages, I mean, assume they're, women in their 20s can also have gut issues and can also benefit from coming to see you. And of course, if you're on the other side and you're in menopause or, wherever you are in your stage of life, your hormones and the things that we face, you can help us, right?
Absolutely. Yep. So I am a family nurse practitioner by trade. So I do treat all age groups. I even have some children that I work with is in regard to supplements and gut health. But I really do love caring for the whole family because, I'm a mom and a wife myself. And I do think that, our health and happiness is, all of that plays into it.
Yeah. Are there any other supplements that you have found to be sort of staples for most women? I know that's just a general thing, but is there anything that we can take away as far as good supplements maybe to have on a daily use, no matter the issues?
Absolutely. Every person can benefit from a vitamin D supplementation. A lot of times people don't know that in order for vitamin D to be absorbed, it also needs to be with vitamin K. So I can have patients sometimes and well, I've been taking vitamin D for years. How in the world is that low? And I'm like, well, you're not giving your body additional things that it needs to be able to absorb it. So you should, like you were taking nothing at all. So vitamin D is a great one. Magnesium glycinate, that is a wonderful supplement. I prefer to have that taken in the evenings. It can help with relaxation benefits and help with sleep.
Mm-hmm.
So those are two staples that I really use for everyone.
Okay, I feel good about myself. I'm doing both of those.
Yay, good job.
For the win.
I got to get my vitamin K. I don't have my vitamin K. I have vitamin C and D and some other things going on, but
yeah, and
get my alphabet in there.
They do have some supplements out there that are, medical grade that have vitamin D and K together. So you don't have to take two separate ones, which is always nice. Less is more, in my opinion.
I do a drop. Mine's in a liquid form. And why vitamin D and K? What do they do for us?
So they can help with our mood. They can help with our energy levels. Depression is a big one. If someone is depressed, vitamin D is something that I'm looking at to say, we need to get these levels up. Even if you live in an area where you get a lot of sunshine, it really is hard to get the amount of vitamin D that we need just in diet and sunshine alone.
I thought D also help with your immune system too. Is that correct?
It absolutely can. So staying on top of it, especially during the winter months when, there's more viral illnesses going around, that can make a big difference. Boosting your vitamin C around that time of year as well can be helpful. But yeah, there's so many things that it can play into, and it really may vary based on what someone's complaints are or what their issues are.
Yeah.
And you individualize the dosage for them too, which is really important.
Absolutely. And so if someone is super deficient, then typically my approach is going to be to give a high dose for, 3, even 6 months sometimes. And we're rechecking those lab levels along the way to determine, is it working? Do we need to, maybe boost it even more, or do we need to back off a little bit?
And you mentioned medical grade supplements. How do we know is the best one to purchase? We don't want to, you're right. I don't want to waste my money on buying something at a regular store if it's not going to benefit me. That's just a waste of money. I want something to buy that will actually help me. How do I know which supplements are the right ones, or
Yeah.
do exactly what they are supposed to do?
Absolutely. I am somebody that I use an online medical grade dispensary. So I have my favorites. I'm not specifically married to any particular brand, but of course I have my favorites. Thorn supplements are fantastic. That is a brand that I use
Yes.
quite often. Pure encapsulations is another one. These are all, quality, high tested supplements. And I know that they work because I've seen it in my patients and the way that they feel and in their lab work. So those are probably my two go tos. Now, if it's something more gut related, then I have obviously different brands that I may use for that.
I think the point is that get something of quality that actually will do something for you than waste your money on something that won't. I mean, that sometimes you say, well, that it's so much cheaper to get it, buy one, get one. Well, what are you really getting?
Right.
A BOGO is not going to get you much if it's not doing nothing.
Exactly. I always say, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So
Yeah.
if you're like, man, that's a good deal, then there's probably a reason for it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And what works for one person isn't the same for the other. So quality and dosage amount too is so important. With those particular supplements and medical grade, you have to have an account through a practitioner as yourself. Is that correct?
That's correct. And actually, anyone can order from my dispensary. And if you go to my website, in the top right corner, you can actually click on the order supplements tab, and you can create an account and even just go on there and look and see. I have starred a lot of my favorites. And so that kind of comes up based on what I frequently do recommend.
Oh,
Nice.
that's great.
That's a great resource.
That's great.
Now, you had mentioned kind of going back to bioidentical hormone therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's safe. That's something that we want to be
Yeah,
diving into and looking at,
I think
considering.
that that's everyone's concern when they're talking about hormones is, am I going to do something to harm myself? And there used to be a lot of negative views towards hormone therapy. And this all came from a women's health study that happened years and years ago, which now has been debunked. But essentially, bioidentical hormone therapy is absolutely safe. And it can be completely life changing for a lot of women and men. But in regard to contraindications, I think that's the biggest thing for people to know, there are very few contraindications to hormone therapy. Big ones would be any type of active cancer, especially hormone sensitive cancers like endometrial cancer, estrogen receptor positive breast cancers. And most women, if they have a family history of breast cancer, then they would know if that's something that they might be susceptible to. If anyone has like a blood clotting disorder, that may be a reason, not necessarily it's not a hard contraindication, but that may be something that we need to investigate a little bit further before initiating to ensure that it's safe. And then another big one would be pregnancy. If you are trying to conceive or know that you are pregnant, then you would not be a candidate for hormone therapy at that point in time.
Which I think is exactly what you were talking about with your practice, how you spend 90 minutes just talking to someone beforehand. I mean, that's really getting all of the information. And if the patient is being fully transparent about everything in their life and they're bringing that to you, you're going to be able to navigate them with your information, their family history, all the things, their health and well-being, and then the labs to put them on the right track so that they can be at ease with whatever it is you decide to try to help them in their health to feel better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I really view what I do as I'm a partner in this with you. It's my job to give you the resources that you need. Hormone therapy is a completely elective treatment for you. It's
Yeah.
not a medical indication per se. This is something that you are weighing the risk and benefits and deciding what is worth it to you. And for me, in my personal opinion, who doesn't want to feel their best every day?
Right.
And so you have to decide, is it worth it? Is it right for me? Am I comfortable with it? And I can help you navigate all of that.
I think the bottom line is if you just don't feel good, no matter what stage you are in your life, give someone like you a call and set up an appointment and do the consultation, because chances are there's something you're going to be able to do to help them to feel better, whether it be the brain fog, the weight loss, the guts issues. There are options out there. And sometimes I do feel like people feel like they are stuck, and they are not, because the Jennahs of the world are there to help them.
1000%. And I'm happy to do that.
Yeah.
When things start, feeling a little bit different, or you just don't feel right, the amount of time that you spend with each patient and individual, 90 minutes, and that doesn't include your personal time and studies of their labs. You just can't match that anywhere. And then traditional medicine world, it's a wonderful place for certain things, but like you said, the insurance kind of has their hands tied with the amount of time that they can spend with each patient. So what I appreciate too is that you grow with these patients for every season, right? Whether they're a child or perimenopause, menopausal. Sure, the supplements, the dosages, the therapies, everything changes with them, and the individualized treatment that you give them throughout, I can't imagine isn't transformational.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you're right in that we're always changing. Our needs change, our life changes, our environment changes. And so we have to take into account all of that to really, decide what do we need in that moment. So,
and you're keeping up with current information too, like the study you mentioned before, out of date. You don't need to worry about that being an issue with bioidentical hormone therapy. We've moved past that. We've got other studies, and that's really important to keep up with new studies and new information that's coming out.
Absolutely. For better or worse, I'm a nerd, so I'm always going to be reading and keeping up with all of it.
That's good. That's good. That's what we need. We need more people like you. It's good information. All right, Rachel, this has been a good one. I tell you, we just keep getting more and more information from all of our Grand Strand Health and Wellness businesses, and it is incredible what's taking place. And Jennah, you're one of them, and we appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome, and I hope that we can continue to improve our community and the health of everybody around us.
Thank you so much, Jennah. It's such a rich conversation. I can't wait for everyone to hear it. Before you go, I have to ask, what is the one thing in your professional experience that we can do today? Something simple, an actionable step that we can take today to elevate our health and wellness?
Yeah, I love that question. For me, it is going to be as simple as tracking how you feel. Keep a log, write down your energy levels, how did you sleep last night? What is your mood for the day? If you're a woman, track your menstrual cycle, because you taking control of how you're feeling is the first step. Once you begin to realize those signals and those patterns, that's where you can take control, and then I can step in to help you. Or someone like me can step in to help you to really navigate, to bring awareness to what's going on and how we can make you feel better.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful.
Makes perfect sense. Good information. I have to start tracking. Tracking right now.
Start tracking.
Right now, I feel good because I'm talking to you, Jennah.
Well, awesome. Then we need to chat more often.
Absolutely.
Our listeners, whether they're in South Carolina or Virginia, right? Because you have a virtual practice. So whether they're in either state, South Carolina or Virginia, they can set up an appointment with you. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And I am working on licensing in other states. So as those are available, then that is something that will be listed on my websites and social media pages. So definitely always keep an eye out, because I will continue to update there as more states are available.
It's exciting. Thank you so much, Jennah.
Stuff. Thank you, Jennah. This has been great. We appreciate it.
Thank you, ladies, for having me.
Absolutely. Wait, don't go anywhere. If you are enjoying the Elevate podcast, could you do us 3 favors? Leave us a review, join our newsletter, follow us on social, and wait, it's 4 things, and share the podcast with friends and family.
Absolutely, Rachel. Your reviews help us grow, reach more people, and contribute to our mission of connecting local wellness businesses with individuals seeking their support and services. Please take a moment to leave us a review. To get the most out of your listening experience today, we invite you to join our newsletter. We offer wellness-based resources, recaps, show notes, and links. It's like a culinary garden of wellness resources.
Until next time, have a healthy and blessed day.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. The information provided in the Elevate podcast and associated materials is for general informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. No content should be considered a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment. Reliance on any information provided by Elevate, its host, guest, or contributors is solely at your own risk. We encourage you to consult with a healthcare professional before making any significant changes to your diet, exercise, or wellness routine. Ultimately, your health and well-being are unique to you, and it's important to make informed decisions based on your individual needs.